Going live. Here we go. In five, four,
We gotta check and make sure
three.
everything's up, right?
I think everything's up.
All right, here we go. All right, everything's up now.
All right, here we go. In five, four, three, two, and one. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us here on the Welcome Home Podcast. I'm your host, Famously Garnet, and I'm joined by my co-host Q.
What it do, y'all? What it do?
And this is episode 200. 200 episodes of the Welcome Home Podcast. And man, it's been a ride so far. We've had a lot of great guests over time on this podcast, a lot of greats, a lot of it guys in the NFL and things of that nature. Legends, SEC legends. Trey Kelly, shout out to him, right?
Yeah.
And it's been fun so far, man. It has been a lot of fun. Q, it is a big weekend for Gamecock football again, a big OV weekend. We're going to talk about those official visits here in this episode. Also with South Carolina, Dawn Staley, Lenore Sellers met up for an event last night. We're going to talk about that. And then Nick Harbor. I met with Nick Harbor last night at down at Touchdowns at 5 Points. We had some good conversations. I'm going to play a couple clips during this episode so you guys can hear a little bit of that. And then finally, Lenore Sellers. He's going to Manning Camp, and that is the first quarterback since Dylan Thompson in 2014 to go to Manning Camp. So great stuff there. Congratulations to Lenore. He deserves it. Q, let's start off right there, man, with Manning Camp. That is a great achievement. A great achievement.
It's a huge honor, huge honor. We, like you said, we haven't had it since 2014. Dylan Thompson. And if you remember Dylan Thompson's year that year, dear God, he had a year on him. If we even had half a defense that year, oh my God, we probably going to the SEC championship game again. Because Dylan was putting up amazing stats with the likes of Farrell Cooper, Nick Jones, Bruce Ellington,
Shaq Rowland.
That was it. I mean, they beat Georgia that year.
They did.
So, but I remember the collapses of that year as well. The Missouri collapse up 14 with like, I don't know, 5 minutes left. That was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was another collapse we had. Was it Tennessee? I think it was Tennessee that year.
Might have been Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee. We were up, and then Josh Dobbs just brought them back out of nowhere. The Kenny Trill hype, man, I remember that first year that
Texas jeez, yeah,
Kenny Trill hype was no, that was the first year of the SEC network, I think.
It was the first game on the SEC network.
And so that was a way to go out. We're top 10 in the nation then. It was a way to go out.
Yeah.
It was just rough. It was a rough year. And then we should have beat Clemson that year, and we didn't. Can't remember what happened with that game. But we definitely should have won that year. But that's an underrated quarterback. I would put Dylan Thompson up there with a lot of quarterbacks because Dylan had him a heck of a year that year. I do remember that, no holds bar. But all in all, Lenoris is doing everything he's supposed to do to become that leader that we need him to be. I think this year is huge for him. I think the Manning Passing Academy will show a little bit more of how well he is as a passer. So I'm really excited about that portion of it. I'm really excited about that part of it and him getting some more tools to use throughout the season next year. Like he's going to be in there with the likes of Arch Manning, Lagway. You have Ty Simpson's going to be there. Gunnar Stockton's going to be there.
Yep. And Nussmeier.
Nussmeier will definitely be there.
Yep.
You got that Luke kid from that Illinois school.
Altmaier.
Yeah, that's like 28 years old, still playing football. He'll be there. We got a lot of talent that's there, and so I'm glad to see him stack himself up against this talent, be able to make something happen such as this. And I'm proud of him, man. Like, I knew that Lenoris was that good. I think a lot of people just didn't know that Lenoris was that good, and now they're starting to see how good Lenoris really is.
Yeah, and we watched him grow. I mean, that's what the great thing about that was, man. We watched this process happen. You know, and it was amazing to see, and then to see him reap the benefits that he has now. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah,
you know, that's absolutely amazing. So congratulations to Lenoris for that. Just from where he is now, and this is just, it's been a process, and it's been fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and he's kept a great mind about himself, right? And that's a testament to his family. I mean, Lenore's mom, dad. I mean, they are all great, fantastic people. Can't say enough about them. You
Fantastic
know,
people.
you talk to them out and about, and they are as nice as can be.
Mhm.
Very, and they don't stray away from having conversations. And I know families in the past have, not saying quarterback wise, but I'm just saying in general. So I'm so happy for him, man, and just to continue to see this effort, this growth, man, it's just been phenomenal. It's
I
just
agree.
it's just been phenomenal. So
I
it's
agree.
it's it's great stuff there. Q last night, Dawn Staley and Lenore Sellers, they were in an event last night doing something, which is really cool to see those two come together for that. And I believe Dawn Staley's book had something to do with it as well, as she's on this really this national book tour that is going crazy. So really,
Yeah,
really good stuff
Don's
there.
been doing a lot of good stuff with her book tour. Her book's already a New York Times bestseller, which I'm not shocked. Don is just a jack of all trades, so I'm not shocked at this. I'm glad she's getting the recognition she deserves and is getting the love she deserves as well. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm excited. I'm truly excited to see how far this book goes. I still got to get my copy, so I'm looking forward to getting my copy of that book and going from there.
Yeah, yeah, and that is Uncommon Favor. It is available nationwide now. It was sold out, but it seems like the bookstores have been keeping up with the demand recently. And you can also catch the books on Spotify. Same place you get your believe in the Welcome Age Pod. You can get your stuff on Spotify, which is really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
congratulations to Dawn and that whole thing, and of course with Lenore. So great stuff there. Moving on to the other side. Well, keep it on to this side of things with football. Nick Harbor had an event last night with Savell Noon. They did a live show of I believe Sip of My Coffee, if I'm not mistaken, is what the show's called, out there with 1801 Media down there at Touchdown 5 Points out there. And for those who don't know, Touchdown down in 5 Points, that is the infamous marquee that has been moved from the Cotton Gin that is now further down a little bit, but that is who continues to go through the NIL efforts for South Carolina, making these official visits truly make it home. I can't say enough about what Thomas is doing out there in his business. I mean, it's
Oh,
fantastic. It's
huge,
fantastic.
huge, huge what they're doing out there. Huge what they're doing out there. And I think it's once again it's a testament to using everything that you have around you. That
Yep.
is my biggest thing about that is always using what you have around you.
Yep.
Always, always using what you have around you, and that's what they're doing. And so I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Honestly, I can't wait to meet Thomas. I genuinely cannot wait to meet him and get down there, and we get a chance to go down there ourselves
Hmm.
and do our thing. That's something that we definitely have talked about. That's something that we want coming up, and so I'm excited for that portion of it as well.
Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah.
He's going to continue to grow. I saw the drink menu. He has some really good creative drinks up there. I thought that was really cool.
Hmm.
I like what I see. I genuinely like what I'm seeing from what they're doing, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
he's doing what he needs to do. I love it.
He is, and one of the things like during GG Jackson's recruitment, right? Like one of the things that hearing from GG Jackson himself and talking about that marquee, he's like, I'm in my own city and they got my name on these signs down 5 Points. He's like, that was a dream come true for a, homegrown kid. So when that happened with Gigi, like that was one of the things that he talked about, when he committed to South Carolina. It was the love that he, received from the city. And it's the things that it's the small things in life. Travis Johnson, his mom has been very vocal about this past official visit at South Carolina this past weekend. And one of the things that she talked about was that, the marquee, but also just that home feeling and having things like that businesses contribute. And this is a testament for them, but also if you're a business and you want to be a part of Gamecock athletics with the Garnet Trust, I mean, just put your foot out there, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it's only going to pay off for you. I mean, for your business, so
correct, correct.
it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So shout out to Touchdown to 5 Points. But like I said, we had that event going on last night. It was a really really cool thing. I believe the interview's out now, if I'm not mistaken, or it's going to be out soon. But Savell talked, ball with Nick and some, about some other things, and they had some good topics. So, like I said, it highly, suggest you guys to tune into that. I on my end of things, I made it sure, and I did talk to Nick about a couple things. First of all, we talked about his fit, and bro, Nick had on the OVO jacket, bro. Underneath it though, the Gamecock Mike Furry shirt, which I don't know if y'all seen that Mike Furry shirt. That thing is legit. It's definitely legit. These recruits have been wearing it. They've been wearing it for all the coaches. It looks like Sterling Lucas, Carter Meadows had the Sterling Lucas, shirt on the other day, so that was cool. So you're seeing a lot of these really cool things with these different players. But with Nick, like he had a blast, man, out there in the interview process and with me. But we talked about what it was like at the Whitewater Center in Charlotte. They did a whitewater rafting, and I don't know if you haven't seen the interview yet. If you have, I mean, it's hilarious. Nick talking about being out there, and it was funny. It was a lot of fun listening to him talk about that and how he was not anticipating it would go the way it did. But he had a blast. He had a huge blast out there, and of course we also talked ball. Nick and I, we talked about the normal things like what came down to the off season. Where did you make these decisions? And one of the things that Nick brought up, with it is going into the off season, what am I going to do? And he said a couple weeks in, he made that decision after the bowl game. I'm going to go ahead and commit to South Carolina football and keep it to that. I'm not going to do the track thing anymore. And I asked him, so what came to that decision? He said, well, trying to get to the league and things of that nature. So Nick, he had that decision made pretty fairly early than a lot of people thought he would, I guess. But he said it's the best decision he's ever made. He went to his father. They had that conversation. And it's ultimately the best decision that he's ever made. So, and we're gonna see it pay it off. We're gonna see it pay off here soon, man. Having a full off season queue, as you talked about, if we're gonna get it from Nick, it was gonna be pivotal. And that's why one of the reasons why we didn't go back into the portal, right, for another receiver, because of what we saw with Nick committing to football like that.
Yeah, everything's gonna come down to Nick committing to football. And you've already seen the progress that he's made. Even in the spring, we've seen what progress has been made and what's been done. So I'm big on what's going on and what's happening. I'm extremely proud of him. But you can tell his technicality has gotten so much better with when it comes to being here for an entire off season. A spring will do wonders for you whenever you're trying to get yourself in the proper spot.
Mm-hmm.
I told folks before, everybody wants to judge Nick because of his star rating and not giving him one time that he's had an offseason fully devoted to football. Now that he has, let's see what he can do. He's with an excellent coach that can develop. Let's see what he's able to do. Let's judge him off this season. Let's see what he's able to accomplish this season. And we'll come back
Yeah.
and talk about the situation then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's going to flourish this year. I really do. I really do. It's full concentration on that sport, and he wants to go to the next level, man. He made a commitment to himself, and I think he's going to hold it, and I think he's going to do what he needs to do to make it happen. I really do. I think the mindset is there. Obviously, the ball skills were there. He was still focusing on that a little bit more. Another thing too, we talked about these freshmen coming in. We talked about him being that guy now. He's the oldest, and he's one of the oldest in the room now, right? Being a junior, having that time with the program, but being able to develop a little bit more. So you have all these guys coming in, right? Like Cyrus, Jordan Gidron, of course, Jaden Sellers, right? Murph, Clark, Brian Rowe, all these different guys coming in. And even for him, he's like, I still have to work on my own thing, right? Because I'm still trying to get better. But he's talking about with his leadership, guiding these guys, getting them right, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing him talk like that, it really makes you feel like he's getting it. He's on it. Because if you would ask me, a year ago with Nick, like, is he going to get there? And if he didn't go if he went another offseason and he didn't fully commit to football, we may be having a little different conversation. But committing to football full time, like I said, we're going to see a whole nother level to Nick this year that a lot of people aren't expecting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's going to work out. And I think you're going to see it translate, especially when he starts getting in game mode and getting into these different games. You're going to see why he would be a great wide receiver one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be in that firm conversation, and ultimately because of the wide receiver prospects coming out in the draft this year, his stock could be a little high. His stock could be a little high. But obviously, we'll talk about that later on. Further, when we get into the season. Q, let's go ahead. We'll take a break before we get into the OVs coming up for this weekend, and then also we'll get into a little more intel what we've heard from the past from these OVs from last weekend. So we'll do that. So let's go ahead and get a break in real quick from our sponsors. Let's give it a C in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, Q. So let's go ahead. We'll talk about OVs. And first, before we go into this weekend, let's talk about last weekend. And one of the big names, obviously the biggest name, if you're looking at recruiting rankings, was Carter Meadows. Carter Meadows was in South Carolina for his OV. And I got to tell you, they left a print on Carter Meadows and his family from this past official visit that it was Thursday yesterday, right? And he was still talking about it around lunchtime yesterday. He was still talking about that official visit. And at this point, South Carolina has seemingly taken the lead in the recruitment.
Amen.
So you set the bar. You set the bar early. That's the thing. You set the bar early. I know a lot of people, they don't like that Carter came here first. But sometimes setting that bar early, I'm not against it.
OVs always differ from person to person, from prospect to prospect. Some it's good to be in early, some it's good to be in later. With Carter, you needed him on campus, period, because there are people who were fighting who wanted him on campus that are not going to be able to do that. You wanted him on campus early, so it's going to be great. I'm intrigued to see how this is going to play out and continue to grow. Let's see what Carter's able to do. Let's see what this recruitment area, especially after these OVs are done. Let's see what Carter's thought process is on these situations.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got Travis Johnson. Travis Johnson right now, he's at Penn State for the weekend. So we'll see what happens with that. That is that 4-star wide receiver that came in from Chesapeake, Virginia. Sure. He was blown away. He was blown away from his visit. And like I said, it's not bad to have that first impression. You know, it's not bad to have that first impression because you leave a lot out there, right? Sure. But at the same time, what South Carolina did with these officials, and you've seen it. I mean, between the intro that Shane Beamer did with the players coming out of the jersey, the helmet, right, giving his own introduction to the guys, like saying, hey, it's his first appearance in a Gamecock uniform, or the media department, shout out to them, creative media department, between their backdrop on the photo shoot, which is about to get better, by the way. Shout out to Ageless out there outside of 5 Points. Ageless, a shop doing vintage. They're supplying Gamecock Athletics right now with some more stuff and make those photo shoots even better. Once again, another Gamecock business pouring love into the university.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. So between that, the EA College Football 26 edit, things of that nature, I mean, it's just incredible the stuff that they were able to do. And that's just on the surface. Mm-hmm. That doesn't truly break into the rest of it, right? Correct. That's just what you know on the surface, the things that you see. And then, of course, Shane being Shane. I mean, it gets talked about all the time. Shane, being in front of the players, right? Being in front of the families.
I agree. So it's all about, let's just see how this thing plays out. That's how my biggest thing. Let's just see how this bad boy plays out.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, with Johnson, right? Safety out of Birmingham, quarterback out of Birmingham. Q, you've heard some good things there.
Yeah, I've heard there's going to be some probably shutting it down here soon. I think after this weekend, I know he's at West Virginia this weekend, but we'll see after that. I'm not too worried about that one.
Yeah. Yep. South Carolina and PJ Dean, they also made a move there with PJ Dean. That was very interesting to hear more about that. It seems to be that Ohio State, South Carolina race with Carter Meadows. I mean, I think Shane Beamer's going to butt heads with Ryan Day a lot this season for some recruits. So, yeah, recent national champions, but that's not going to stop Shane. Yeah, that's not going to stop South Carolina Shane Beamer from recruiting.
I agree.
So just really, really good stuff. JB Shabazz, another guy South Carolina made a big impression on and potentially could wear that garnet and black when it's all said and done. Q, we'll go ahead. Let's take it into OVs coming up. One last thing. Amiri Acker was, he came to South Carolina last week on a visit, just visiting. Wasn't offered, right, but did camp in front of the coaches, right? And he did indeed receive an offer from South Carolina.
which is big.
Mm-hmm. Playmaker out of Iva, South Carolina, a baller, great speed for his size. I mean, so you definitely want that. But Q, let's go ahead and take it to OVs for this weekend. Start out with the big names, right? The big names. Obviously, everybody knows about the Twins. Everybody knows about the Twins. Aiden Harris, right?
Right.
And of course his brother.
Andrew.
Of course his brother. Where do you say? What do you say on that, Q?
So I'm gonna go down the list for you guys. First I'll start with Aiden. I mean, if you been under a rock, then I guess you haven't heard what's going on. But if you have been under a rock, we are trending very heavy for Aiden Harris out of Weddington. He is 6'2", 200, at least 70, 80 right now. Probably could push that 300 mark here before he even gets on campus. D tackle, extremely skilled. Reminds me so much of Puna Ford that came out of Hilton Head. They went to Texas.
Mm,
Low to the ground. It's hard for centers to deal with guys like that. Low pad level, all those different things is gonna that he is huge for this class. He's another cornerstone piece for that D tackle room for T. Rob. Next up, I got Landon Duckworth. Um, if you don't know, you already know how I feel about Landon. Landon was the quarterback from day one. I've always wanted Landon in this class. I think Landon is an extremely talented quarterback, can make all the throws, 6'3", 190, literally the mold of Lenore's, but just a little lighter. Like literally can run, dual threat, can make everything happen that you need. Will be another huge addition to this group if we can go ahead and get him in. Zion Gillis, a cornerstone offensive tackle, already 6'4", 290. He'll be about 310 by the time he plays his last high school game. Very good out of Carver's Bay. Been locked in. This is an interesting one right here. Noah Clark. Noah Clark is someone if you have known, Noah Clark is like one of the first people we actually offered when we first started offering. We've been on him for a long, long, long time. Out of Durham, North Carolina. I think NC State is trying to make a push, but I do believe Dave Dorian not being in I would say Dave Doran not being in Raleigh will hurt them in the long run. So I think we can pull off Noah Clark. He does commit July 2nd. I think if we do what we need to do on this, continue doing what we're supposed to do, I think we can get in there. Kamari Blair. Kamari Blair out of Clarksville is another guy, FG, I've been huge on Kamari for a very, 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 very long time.
mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorite offensive lineman recruits. We're in this game.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee's going to be hard to beat because he grew up in Tennessee, grew up following Tennessee. But if you make a strong enough impression, I think we can make this very, very intriguing. I do. Kamari Blair would be a huge get for us. If we can land him as an offensive lineman in this class. Andrew Harris, of course, moving to linebacker. His potential is through the roof. A lot of people don't understand, but his potential is literally through the roof. The kid can flat out ball. Can flat out ball. He's going to be that hybrid linebacker situation along with the next guy we're going to talk about. But I am big on Andrew Harris. Andrew Harris, once again, the twin brother out of Weddington, I believe will be huge for us to be in this class, and we are training for him.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Britt, brother of KJ Britt for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another hybrid linebacker edge who we have committed. He's locked down his recruitment, so he's planning to wear the garnet and black out of Alabama. So we're reaching really well into Alabama right now, which I'm glad we're starting to kind of mine that state because they have some low key underrated talent that we should be looking at. Joel Combe, he's there for an official out of Marietta, Georgia, a safety prospect. We're in the game, but I think we're running about third or fourth for this guy. So I'll see. I'm intrigued to see how this one's going to play out for us. I don't know. I think Georgia's trying to come on really heavy, so I think Georgia will be hard to beat if they continue to press for him. I think Georgia will be hard to beat, but I also feel very strongly about our safety class with Currents currently committed, and I do strongly believe with Watkins will be coming in as well. So I do feel pretty strongly about that class. Um, and Koski Barnes out of Grimsley, which is Greensboro, North Carolina, 6'2", 185. I mean, the kid's good. He's a prototypical T-Rob guy. I think if we blow him out the water with this, I could see him canceling some OVs, and I think we could really strongly get in the game for this and possibly close the deal, which would be huge for us. I do think that those are the guys that are known to be on there. But once again, I tell people all the time, you never know who could show up.
Yeah.
You never know who could show up. So those are the guys I know of and where we are standing currently with them.
Yeah, and I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, I think a 27 linebacker wound up slipping into the visits last week, right? So you do have a lot of that going on. I mean, you really do. So, but yeah, I mean, going through that list, I mean, the twins, the Harris twins, it brings back the old days of Jasper Casper, Jordan, Jordan Dustin, Gerald, the Dixon brother. I mean, all of them. I mean, there's so many twin brothers that have played at South Carolina. And it's cool to see this continue, and it seems like it's going to happen again. And to see this happening under T-Rob's watch, right? Somebody that grew accustomed to knowing Jasper Casper, Jordan and Dustin, and all those guys. I really find that awesome. I think that is really cool. Just that's going to happen. Landon Duckworth. I was surprised when he came. That he's essentially back in the fold. He's not yet, of course, but to see him be that name again and become that quarterback prospect that South Carolina originally had locked up, the love was always there. And I was like I said, originally I was surprised because, at one point South Carolina was trending for some other guys, right? Obviously Brady Smeagol from California, that was the name. He ultimately goes to Michigan. Jared Curtis was kind in that talk when Dowell Loggins was here, right? Ultimately, between Georgia and Oregon. So they've been in it for some big names, but Landon Duckworth, I mean, make no mistake, like that's the guy that obviously you wanted to begin with, and he's a baller, and Schuler's going to find the best out of him, right, for his skill set.
Correct.
He's going to find the best out of him. Zion, big Zion, and Q, we're going to have Zion, on the show here in the next few weeks, but that he's a monster. He's a monster. He's the number one offensive lineman in South Carolina for a reason, right? And one of the top in the country. I mean, if the class was a little smaller on the offensive line side, I mean, who knows? I mean, that guy could potentially reach 5-star territory. I mean, and honestly, if he was going to another school with a different logo on it, he may have indeed reached 5-star territory. That wouldn't surprise me. Looking at Noah Clark, that is an intriguing one. Q, I'm right there with you. He's a baller. That's another, solid size, 6'4", right? So good size. I'd like to see what happens with that. I really do. Blair's an interesting one, right? We talked about him with Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee wants him, and he's from Tennessee, right? If I'm not mistaken, out there. So
Clarksville.
Clarksville, right? So I'm interested to see what happens with that recruitment. Blair's a big body, though, man. He'd be solid to have in South Carolina. Getting Britt back on is huge. Getting back on campus for him being a commit to South Carolina, just like Gillis, right? Having those two guys on campus, their love's already at South Carolina, and they've remained, faithful, right? They never looked to go anywhere else. And I mean, Britt's going as far as saying he shut down his recruitment entirely. He shut down his recruitment entirely. And then Jal Combe, I agree. I don't really see if we're going to take him or not, but we'll see what happens with that, of course. And then Barnes, I'm big on Barnes, man. A solid size DB. He's not really in that ranking talk, but we know how these rankings work, right? It's like these kids, if you don't camp, you're not going to get ranked most of the time, and that's just the way it is. That is your recruiting politics 101, of course. Just because, Barnes doesn't have a ranking, that doesn't say how he is as a player, I promise you. We've seen this play out many, many, many times, and a lot more under Shane Beamer, really, than any other coach recently, of course. So I would remain patient with that. And, of course, you don't know who else could pop up. Man, it's definitely, potentially anything can happen. One thing I do want to say, just because let's say a recruit's visiting somewhere, right? People are kind of up in arms that Currents is going to take another visit. Q, you and I both know that Currents is about locked in than any, prospect that has come through South Carolina in a while, man. Like, he's locked in.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing that he's been going on visits with prospects that South Carolina is currently trending up for. Maybe Tamarian Watkins or a Smoke, right? Samari Smoke Matthews. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Okay, so just chill a little bit. I promise you, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. So, gotta love seeing that. And South Carolina's trending to trend upwards, right? A lot of big names out there. Sequel Patterson, right? Reclassified for 2027 to 2026.
Can't wait to see what his
Oh,
visit schedule and stuff's going to be. So I know
mhm.
we'll get one, but I just want to see what he's going to end up doing. And once again, guys, do not worry about Julian Walker. He was just on campus yesterday.
Mhm.
So I mean, you just got to kind of let this thing play out. Let's just let this thing play out and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean Julian Walker's. I mean he's taking his visits. I mean that's the thing though. His father is on staff. So it's like what do you expect the guy to do? You expect him to it just blows my mind. I mean he's literally on staff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I tell people to calm down on that. He's assistant football strength and conditioning coach here at South Carolina, Jamil Walker. So I just calm down, guys. It's okay. I promise. Things are going to be fine. Things are going to be fine. So South Carolina's done a lot, man. They've done a lot of work here in these OVs coming up, and it's not going to stop there. Q. It's not stopping there. There are more visits that are on the way. What do you foresee this weekend, Q? Do you think that South Carolina is going to get a few welcome homes to end this weekend?
I think they will. Will they announce them all? Not, I don't know, but I think they will get some guys locked in, and I think or make it go a long way to where they're ready to commit here soon. So I do think that's possible that could happen, and when it does, I think it'll do nothing but help this class a lot. So I'm intrigued to see what's going to end up happening with this. Very much.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise. And then June 20th, let's go ahead and go over those names again that are visiting June 20th for this month. Darius Gray, officially 5-star. It's probably a race between South Carolina, LSU, when it's all said and done. Samari Matthews, right? Samari Matthews, he's going to be on the visit the same day as his buddy Xavier Kurtz. Kurtz is going to be, on this visit. Samari and Wingo, wide receiver. We'll see what could potentially happen with that. Tamarian Watkins, Desmond Green, Trey Aiken, T. Riley out there, Orangeburg. I mean, I'm telling you, man, like it's an interesting month in June. It's fun, like I said, this is why we do it.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys there, and I think that one I got to see what's going to end up happening because I do think that one's going to be a huge weekend. But beyond it being a huge weekend, I do want to see what's going to end up happening with the I want to see what ends up happening with the group in general because I do think there's going to be some people added, and I also think there's going to be some people taken away from that. So I'm not ready to go all in on that group yet. I mean, some of those guys are very much going to be here. Gray's going to be here. Matthews is going to be here. Currents is going to be here. Watkins is going to be here. Riley's going to be here. I do believe Trey Aiken and Desmond Green will attend, but I'm also curious to see who else will show up for that weekend. I don't know about Wingo. I'm just not sold on him yet, but I do think we still have some people that might still visit during then. So we'll see. I'm intrigued to see how that weekend plays out as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a big month. It's a big month.
Does Carson Baker take his visit? Because we were talked about as a group that could actually be the ones he actually comes and visits that weekend. So do we get him that weekend? I'm intrigued to see what that looks like.
Yeah, his visit scheduled the 20th. I mean, that's still out there. We'll see what happens. Obviously,
it's out there. So I want to see what happens. I definitely want to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, there's a lot of time from now and then, of course, but it moves quickly. Time moves quickly, so of course, we'll find out. Q, another interesting note from over the weekend, or actually this week, South Carolina offered their first 2028 recruits, 2028, and it has wide receiver Jordan Gorham, and I just 2028. Can you believe it? But this kid, he's already 6'4", 180 pounds.
It's a big kid.
I mean, he ran a 400 in a 49 second quarter mile, man. Like, I get it. I get it. I mean, good Lord. That's just crazy. So 2028 is already upon us, 2027, all that good stuff, man. So it's getting crazy, man. It's getting crazy. What are your final thoughts about this week, Hugh? This weekend?
No, I just think it's gonna be an important weekend for us, just like every weekend is. But I think this is gonna be a very important weekend. We have a lot of momentum with a lot of guys that are here right now, so I'm intrigued to see how that's gonna play out. Hopefully, it plays out right.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. Q, we got to get people to follow the new podcast Twitter account, and that's at Believe in the WH Pod. Be at BLAV WH Pod in the WH Pod on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, people are brutal. I don't know where they came from that they want to decide to hack accounts, but people are evil. Remember that people are evil, and women lie, men lie, facts don't, man. The facts of the matter is just people are, it can be rude. So, like I said, follow the new account at Believe in the WHE Pod, the WH Pod in the WH Pod at X. Now, Q, before we wrap it up, do you have anything else before we end the show, my guy?
Nope. I'm good.
There we go. Good stuff. Well, guys, appreciate you tuning into the special episode on a Friday on the at the Welcome On podcast. Appreciate y'all watching live on Facebook as you're tuning in live on Facebook, YouTube, and on X. We see you guys out there in the chats. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, you can follow, listen, and rate and review the show, the Welcome H Pod at the Welcome H Pod, Welcome On podcast on Apple and Spotify on the Believe Network, your official South Carolina voice of the Gamecocks. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We will see you next time.
Peace.